Mr. Stark, you become part of a bigger universe. You just don't know it yet. Nick Fury, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm here to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative.
Hello, Red Spotters. Welcome to the program. I'm your host, Kyle Lira. Welcome to Red Spotlight Entertainment number 102. 102, Alexis. Can you believe that? We are in the triple digits now. I still can't believe it. I mean, we've been anticipating this since we recorded the 100th episode, but it's just like, it still blows my mind how we're at the double digits. I don't know. We started from the bottom, now we're here, to quote the great Drake. Anyway,
I've always wanted to be a triple digit.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Wait, is that a reference to something?
I have no idea. I just said it. It could be. I don't know.
Well, you know us at Red Spotlight Entertainment. We're always referencing shit. So, to get on topic, we're going to be going over.
There's a topic?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a topic.
Okay.
It's kind of a topic. We are going to be talking about just a loose conversation at a overview of the MCU so far, and it's definitely going to be something because we definitely love a lot of stuff about the MCU. Also, as per request for Alexis Soto, we are not just being exclusive into the movies, we're also branching out into the TV realm as well.
Because that is still part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so...
Which I could already tell by the way that the request was asked.
You can watch Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. every single Friday at 9 p.m. ABC Network. There, I got it out of the way with. They all know what we're doing. All right.
So the conversation is going to be pretty much 75% S.H.I.E.L.D. and then 25% the rest of the ordeal.
There are more episodes of S.H.I.E.L.D. combined than there are episodes of any other series combined.
Anyway, let's begin. Maybe later on we'll get into some Deadpool 2 stuff. No promises.
That hack.
Well, let's not go. Anyway, Red Spotlight number 102. Future Kyle installed title here. We are here, ladies and gentlemen, so let's begin with the Marvel.
Kyle, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we have to start off by saying that The Last Jedi is the worst piece of shit movie I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, great.
Okay. Alright, and you think that, and Peter thinks that, because you know it, and he knows it, and everybody knows it.
That came out of random. Are you reeling from some angry,
that came out of random. That came out of random. You ended Ready Player One review by ranting about Last Jedi for a good 10 minutes. That seemingly came out of nowhere.
Well, you asked. Hey, you asked.
I didn't ask for a 10-minute rant.
Well, you certainly dug the hole for that one.
That sounds dirty.
But
okay, no, I'm kidding, of course.
I make the best holes. Oh, we're off to a great start.
So I make the best holes with the best missiles.
And the best missiles. I make the best missiles.
With the best missiles.
I make the best holes with the best missiles.
No, of course I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I think that was my way of reminding everybody that yes, it's a great movie. Go watch Last Jedi. It's amazing.
Yeah, buy it on Blu-ray. Any
because apparently nobody is. Did you hear, by the way, what Peter said this week?
What did Peter say about
he took a trip to Best Buy, and apparently
oh yeah, how it's not selling at all.
Well, I mean, apparently not at ours, or the Best Buy in which you guys are closest to, that the Blu-rays are just sitting there as if they haven't even been touched. And I have to say, I went to my local Best Buy, and yeah, they're just sitting there. They're just sitting there. And also, what was funny is, you know, in ramp up to The Last Jedi, Best Buy was showing The Last Jedi on the 4K or TV screen, you know, to promote the movie and everything. And
brings me back.
But according to Peter, they switched out The Last Jedi. They're not playing it anymore, and they're playing Rogue One instead. I have to say though, Kyle, I'm so sorry because I know you were really high on that movie, but it kind of feels like that movie is getting more and more trashed as the years go by. I'm sorry, I don't mean to trash it. I still like
Rogue One.
Yeah, I like Rogue One.
The reason why I was so attached to it was because it connected with my favorite movie of all time. And that's the only reason why I was so ecstatic after the movie. It was because, it was that, to quote Peter, it was that thing I know. And
for you avid Red Spotlight listeners, you can actually go on YouTube and check out Kyle's initial emotional reaction to Rogue One on the After Dark series.
I could not talk for the first, 5 minutes of that After Dark. I usually go first, but I was like, I can't right now. Somebody go for me, because I literally cried from the seat in the movie theater to the car, and that's something else.
And we were there for the credits, I think. Anyway,
yeah, we were there at the credits. You assholes, you asshats, fucking laughing at me because I was bawling like a freaking baby because I heard the freaking Imperial Blockade theme play and Leia and yeah. But anyway. I've
never heard Peter laugh so hard. Yeah, Peter had a physical reaction to your reaction. It was like it was like Rocket and Guardians of the Galaxy out in his over laugh.
Speaking of Rocket and Guardians of the Galaxy and Marvel and all that stuff, let's get to what we set out to record for. So, 2008 was a huge year because it introduced Iron Man, and since then we've had a whole slew of MCU movies and this expanded universe.
We've had 18 to be exact.
18 since 2018. That's
2008. 2008. 18 movies since 2008, not 18 movies since 2018. This is 2018.
2008. Yeah, 2008. Yeah, whatever. I've only had 6 hours of sleep for the past I don't know how many hours.
This is only the third time Kyle has mixed up the year in these podcasts.
Out of 102, not bad. Not bad thus far. So, right off the bat, I want to say it's going to be hard to be doing this because we're going to be doing a rankings episode pretty soon.
Yeah.
And we can't right off the bat say what is your favorite MCU movie because we want to save that for the rankings episode.
Yeah.
But what is your what movie first got you started into this MCU?
No, that is a great question. That's really a great question to start off this entire overview of the cinematic universe because to each and all of us, we had an introduction to these movies. It's been 10 years, and Marvel Studios has made a name for itself as being really the only film studio to
have their shit together.
Well, yeah, that's true. But to create a cinematic universe on the big screen, it's something that no one's ever done before, and no one has really come close to achieving so far. And when you think about that, we're now gearing up. We're now going on 10 years of these movies. it's so incredibly hard to fathom how much time has gone by since 2008 when Iron Man came in. But as far as like for me, Iron Man wasn't my first movie. Like I'm sure it was yours. My first MCU movie, and really in a lot of respects, my first comic book movie ever, was The Avengers in 2012. The Avengers.
What a hell of a way to get started.
Really? It really was. And by the way, The Avengers is such a great movie, and also just great fun. It's also, I feel, in that league of films that whenever I turn on, whenever I watch, it's just always so good. But I just remember being transfixed with. I didn't know beforehand going into this film anything or anyone involved. I didn't know the characters. Back then, if you weren't a comic book fan, the superheroes you knew were what? Batman and Wonder Woman and Superman. I didn't know who these, like you would say, asshats were.
Unless you're like one of the big Marvel heads, like
or Spider-Man, or the X-Men. Everybody knew those.
Or even to some extent the Hulk. A lot of people knew the Hulk, but that's because he really Lou Ferrigno's series in the 70s really stapled the big guy.
But everyone knows what the Hulk looks like.
Yeah, it was like a big green thing, and not many people, like a lot of people who were like somewhat familiar with comic books knew what Captain America was, but a lot of people like in the B slots like Hawkeye or Iron Man or anybody or Thor. A lot of people were like, "What? Thor's a comic book hero?" I thought that was something much like Eric Selvig was like, this is just mythology, you know. Right. This is not comic book stuff, and that really to put these B characters into the forefront of the Avengers, it's really telling. It's really telling, and to a studio that really put obscure franchise such as the Guardians of the Galaxy and make them a household name. That is a true feat in itself.
But it keeps happening. It keeps happening with Ant-Man and Doctor Strange and Black Panther. And they will with Captain Marvel. It's almost with every sense that they have tried. They've accomplished, I feel, in making these superheroes become household names, because I feel in large part their movies are so good, and that's what happened for me in the Avengers. I think I realized at some point that there were maybe movies beforehand. I didn't really know of them, but that movie is so good, and just like it is structured so well that anybody can have fun with it. And I just remember leaving that movie and thinking to myself, you know what? That was really good. That was so good. That's a universe. That's a universe I would invest going back into.
What I most remember coming out of the Avengers, before I get into my first time with the MCU, the first thing that I remember is I came out of the movie absolutely loving it, because I've been watching all the movies leading up to... Yeah,
you had the experience of watching all of the ones in the ramp-up. I had none of that.
And that was an experience all in itself. But the thing that I remember most is that we were still... I think we were... I don't know if we were juniors or... sophomores.
This was 2012.
Like
this was 2012. We were juniors in high school.
We were juniors.
Not college. In high school. We're not that old, people.
In high, yeah, we're in our early 20s, people. It's just so fascinating coming to school that day on Monday after everybody's seen the Avengers.
Oh, really?
And everybody talked about it. Everybody talked. I mean, you name it. Like all the iconic parts of the Avengers. A lot of people talked. Like I heard one of our colleagues in our class was talking about, oh man, the Hulk, and then it was like bam, 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 talking about the famous Hulk smashing scene with Loki.
Yeah, that was a big one. Yeah,
that was a big moment because that was pretty much a big old fuck you to the villain of the movie, and just to have that moment in the movie was like the golden moment. A lot of people are like talking about, the moment where the camera circled around the heroes for the first time in the big old circle. That was a huge moment in cinema and all in itself for something to build up to this and work up. And a lot of people talked about like, the part where the helicarrier was falling down. It's just like in a unison. Everybody, that was the talk of the town. The movie The Avengers. And
that doesn't usually happen though. It didn't.
That doesn't. Yeah, where everybody collectively goes into school, even
except for, of course, Steven Spielberg's masterpiece, The Post, Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep, holding up right now, which you can actually catch right now on Blu-ray and DVD and digital.
How many people went to go see it?
That is all.
Exactly.
Well, hey, you and I did.
Yeah. out of the. How many other old people who went to go watch
this movie was a huge hit when it comes to the oldest people on the planet.
Anyway.
And us. But we're old souls.
So, it was so cool, going into school and people talking about movies. And that was such a unique experience. Like, I don't know what weekend. Did you watch it opening weekend, or was it like the third weekend?
No, in fact, I watched it. I'm pretty sure I watched it the second week, only because everybody was talking about it. It wasn't on my radar, because I didn't know these characters at all. I had no connection to it. But everybody at school was talking about it so much and talking about moments, and I'm like, well, fuck, I need to see this for myself.
Yeah.
So I was one of those people who was like caught in the wave, and like influenced to go see this movie.
Like you were kind of like caught in LA traffic or something like that.
Yes. Not swept up by a cult like some people would say.
Oh, you mean
no.
Disney? No. And then no, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna do the sign of the Diz. It was so fascinating going into class that day and everybody talking about it, the word of the town, everything really accumulated into that kind of that moment,
Yeah.
That was such a golden moment.
It was a moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
This really stapled the MCU not as a movie series, but a cultural phenomenon. Is what I could say. The way that people talked about the Avengers, the first Avengers, was kind of like going back into 1977 and people talking about seeing Star Wars for the first time. And that's kind of the only comparison I could see, like the way that people talked about it back then. I mean, yeah, you had like Thor, Captain America, and all that stuff, and a lot of people like that. But then it really, really delved deep into it when the Avengers came out in 2012. And my God, looking back when I did my rewatch for the rankings episode, my boy, were those simpler times.
Weren't they?
Simpler times where they were just dealing with the freaking god with the bad haircut. That was the only thing they had to worry about, and not the broader spectrum that, there's a big purple thumb on his way, and you guys better be ready for that, which we're gonna see next week. And that's another good thing. Yeah. What else do you remember of that? Like, what was the point of, like, was there any specific moment that was like, oh, this is the part that clicked for me. Like, oh, this is where I really love this movie. For when you first saw the Avengers.
Well, I mean, like we've discussed it for such a long time, it's always something that, it's always a movie that is very intriguing, especially when it comes to the conversation and the discussions that are being had. But in a lot of ways, I think what clicked in it for me when it became something that was just wonderful to look at on the big screen, and I think you would say that as well as many other people, was the third act and the final battle.
When they all got together, the Battle of New York was such an explosive scene. There's so many stuff going on. The character dynamics, because they were always interchanging with each other. Right. You know, they were always like doing a back and forth, like, oh, Cap, yada yada yada. Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. being Robert Downey Jr. and everybody coming together. And then when we got that famous circular shot with all the heroes, there was a literal standing ovation when I went to go see the Avengers. Literal.
Are you sure it wasn't just you standing like usually?
No, like... everybody stood up and applauded, and I was like, "This is so fucking cool. That is what movies is supposed to do." And it was so cool, like seeing everybody like it was like everybody watching like the ball drop in the freaking first part of the Super Bowl. You know, it's just it's incredible. It was incredible, and that really stabilized. I was like, okay, I'm in it. This series is in it for the long run. After that, I want to get into my first time.
Go ahead
with the Marvel universe. So, I've heard about this little movie because I saw a little spread piece on Entertainment Weekly, and this is at a time where my stepdad had a subscription to Entertainment Weekly magazine, and there was this whole piece about Robert Downey Jr. being cast as Iron Man, and how a lot of people said that this is the comeback. I think the cover said the comeback man or something, and it was like doing this whole thing on Robert Downey Jr. reviving his career with this superhero movie. And a lot of people who like knew of the character Iron Man were like, okay, this is good casting, because this was at back then when people were talking about it, we were still in 6th grade when this movie was like being, because I remember in 6th grade people were talking about this movie being made called Iron Man.
When it was being made, not when it was released.
No, when it was being made.
Right, okay. Okay.
A lot of people who knew this kind of stuff, because I knew people who knew the comic book, a couple of friends who knew the comic book genre and the lore and all that stuff, and a lot of people said that Robert Downey Jr. was good casting, and I was like, okay, I don't know who this Robert Downey Jr. guy is. Me being a ignorant 6-year-old, sixth grade student.
Same thing.
I was well, yeah.
It really is.
I was like, okay, let's just see how it goes, and I think it was 7th or 8th grade when the movie finally came out, and I didn't see it in theaters, but I remember my dad coming home with it with a copy of the movie and bringing it home, and he said, hey, this movie is getting a lot of buzz. I heard Howard Stern talking about it and saying that he loved it, so let's watch it.
Let's not forget that Kyle is a huge fan of Howard Stern, and in a lot of ways we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Howard Stern.
Yes, so thank you, Howard Stern. Baba Booey. Hey now. So he popped it in. and it started off with Back in Black. And
of course, yeah. Uh-huh.
I was like, okay. And then I continued, and automatically I was drawn to Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. The whole movie flowed so well. It's such a well-paced movie, and it didn't have any of the I get not, it's too cruel of a word to say baggage, but it didn't have any of the stuff that, like, oh, it needed to set up this. Yeah, there was the end credit sequence with Samuel L. Jackson,
but it was very much a standalone movie. No one expected this to be anything else than that.
Yeah, and I fucking fell in love with this. It's because of this movie. I love wearing suits and and dressing up like that is because of the way that Tony Stark dressed, and I was like, I want to be like Tony Stark, and I thoroughly got into the whole gist of this thing, and then I was like, okay, let's see what else. And then I heard that Marvel was coming out with another movie called The Incredible Hulk, and the rest followed suit until the eventual Avengers movie came out. And then after the Avengers movie came out, and I saw it was so stupid, but the minute that I saw them eating shawarma at the end credit sequence, I was like, this is so fucking goofy and balls to the wall insane that I am in it for the long run. Let's do this. Marvel, throw me everything you've got. And that's pretty much what we've gotten ever since. And that was way back in 2006 when I first got the word of Marvel, and that's how I became knowledgeable. And then here we are in 2018, and we're gonna see Avengers: Infinity War, the stuff that was teased at the end of Avengers. We're finally getting around to it, and that right there is an impressive feat to itself. Yeah.
Well, I mean, especially I wanted to ask you because that time was a different time back then, especially because of the property. Were you into this kind of genre of movie back then when you heard about this being made?
I already loved comic book movies.
Mm-hmm.
Around this
time. Of course,
time,
back then, what was the big thing back then?
Batman.
Mm-hmm. And
Batman was huge. Spider-Man, especially Spider-Man. I loved the Raimi Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man 1 and 2, even to an extent 3. I was completely into it. I love the X-Men movies. The X-Men movies really captured my imagination with all that stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm into the whole Marvel stuff. The DC stuff, I love the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. I love the Tim Burton Batman movies. And then I continued on with that. And so I was already well...
Did you say X-Men?
I saw X3 and X2 with my old man. But I did not see X-Men 1 because I was too young and I didn't give a shit back then. I just wanted my Disney movies and call it a day. It wasn't until I really fell in love with the genre when Spider-Man 2 came around. And that's when I'm like, okay, I really love this genre of movies. And I after that I kind of like became more educated. I educated myself and looked through comic books and read a couple of stories. Read a good portion of the first Spider-Man incarnations. It was just incredible. I really wanted to delve myself into this thing. And by the time Iron Man, and even though that I kind of educated myself, I had no idea who Iron Man was. I was like, okay, let's see what this guy does, and that's where we got to. So it was really start off from X-Men, I guess. That's when my first breath of it came out, and then Superman, then Batman, then Spider-Man, and then I got more into it when Nolan came out with his movie called Batman Begins.
Yeah.
And then everything changed. Hollywood started like, let's make money.
No, man, 2008, the early 2000s was a changing period. And of course, 2008 was just like a huge year with Iron Man and with The Dark Knight. But when you think about what Marvel was back then and what it is now, I mean, the tables have turned completely. And even further so in such a way. But it really, in a lot of ways, was the first Iron Man that, if that movie wasn't just as good as it is even today as it was back then, because honestly, Iron Man is a great movie. And it honestly has aged flawlessly. Flawlessly, really has in a lot of ways. If that movie
hasn't aged at all. That's how kind of a perfect movie it is. You know?
Yeah. It's still a great movie. It's a fun movie to watch. It's a great story. And it's
great lines. I still remember a majority of the lines even to this day.
Right. I'm not even sure. Did you get into your first time watching Iron Man? We were just talking about the past.
Yeah, I kind of delved into it. I was from the moment Back in Black came on in the opening shot, and the not whimsy, but like the way that Robert Downey Jr. Portrayed Tony Stark.
It's magnetic.
It is like instantly kinetic.
Right.
With you. It is instant. The way that it flows. All the characters are well cast. Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts. My God, is she sassy? I love the line where she's talking with, I think it's Christine Everhart from Vanity Fair, and
who ended up being the wife of Justin Hammer.
Well, yeah,
in real life.
It's so interesting how they, like, her line when she was like, okay, I do everything that Tony Stark requires, even on occasionally taking out the trash. Will that be all? I was like, she's so god dang saucy, and I love it. And then Jeff Bridges was a hell of an introduction for what the MCU villains would be. The second phase villains aren't that memorable. But the first phase and the third phase are incredibly memorable, with the exception of maybe Robert Redford in The Winter Soldier.
I'm trying to remember. Well, Ultron was good. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great, but Ultron was good.
Ultron was good.
Phase 2?
Yeah, but mostly it's because of James Spader's performance.
Well, I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
That's about it. I mean, James Spader is great. I'm trying to think.
Don't compare me to Tony Stark.
I'll disagree. I think they are memorable. Maybe not in the best way possible, but I think they're memorable to an extent.
Ronan is such a fucking joke. But
that's the point, though.
So,
that's the joke. That's
I don't know what his name. Malekith. I think that's
I am
his name.
Malekith.
That's so boring. Chris Eccleston, no, stop.
No, look, as far Phase 2 was bad. Ben Kingsley's The Mandarin was great, but that wasn't even a villain. Aldrich Killian
throws up all over the mic.
Aldrich Killian was like,
I am the Mandarin.
It was so laughably bad. It was like a live action syndrome, pretty much. Yeah, Christopher Eccleston, I am Malekith. Okay, that's it. It's really... I do like Ronan. I have to say, the more I watch Guardians, the more I end up enjoying Lee Pace's Ronan. Not a great villain, but I think it fits the tone, and I think it really hit when he's about to destroy Xandar, and then Peter Quill is like, let's have a dance-off, bro. It's worth it. It's worth it for that reaction.
What are you doing? I'm distracting you, big turd blossom.
I like Ultron. I know it wasn't the villain that we were promised, but he's good.
Hey, I still love them regardless.
The Yellow Jacket was kind of like, oh my god, really doing this again? Ugh, seriously. That Corey Stoll's a good actor,
asshole.
but yeah, but okay. I like Robert Redford. I love Hydra. And I think for the purposes of that movie, the Winter Soldier just count as a villain for that movie. Not for the others, but for that movie, he is a villain. So, and he's fucking menacing as hell. So
Inadvertently, he's a villain. Because
but he's still a villain though.
brainwashed.
Of course. But hey, tell that to everybody in Civil War. I don't think anybody gave a shit that he was brainwashed. They were still going in to kill him, except Steve. So, yeah, tell that to anybody who cares.
Hey, Steve Rogers loves his boyfriend.
But Phase 1 did have some good villains. So you had Loki in Thor and the Avengers. Yes, Loki. There it is. Loki.
There it is. End of discussion. Loki. Loki is...
In large part, the writing was good, but I think in large part because of Tom Hiddleston's performance.
Tom Hiddleston brought Loki, the god of mischief, to life like no other person could have. I think nobody could have performed Loki the way that he did, because there's always that sense of Tom Hiddleston's performance that maybe he could be redeemed, and that I think we're gonna get a huge part of that in Infinity War. But the way that he is throughout the whole thing, Thor Ragnarok, my god.
I'm sorry. Hold up. I'm sorry. I still can't get out of my head. Behold, your Guardian of the Galaxy. He has the goddamn stone. He's about to destroy all of life. And then we cut to Peter
Quill dancing.
Do you remember what it was like? You and I saw that movie. You and I saw that together. You remember what that was like watching that for the very first time? It was incredible.
God. I instantly fell in love with Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is my favorite franchise in the MCU.
Spoilers. Hey, that's not really a secret. It really hasn't. Everybody should know it at this point.
It's not. I've praised the Guardians of the Galaxy movies so many times. I've lost count. It's just a really solid, good bit of the MCU.
And in a lot of ways, they really, I think what really helps them in a lot of ways is that they feel, up until this point anyway, they feel so far removed that they don't have to be burdened with the other movies.
With the occasion of a mention of an Infinity Stone.
Yes, or Thanos.
Thanos.
Right.
But other than that, it's kind of like what's the part of Wonder Woman that makes it so good is because it's far away from the other bullshit.
it's far away from the crap and the bullshit. Really
far from it, that you get it that it feels more intimate in a way.
Right.
Because I like to compare it to like a party. All right. You have like this loud ass party, loud ass music, and all that stuff. That when you get away from the party with one of the party's recipients and actually get to know one of the people, like you're actually like, wow, I had a great time at this party because I had a great deep conversation. And that's the way I could compare it to. Is like, you know, it's more intimate, it's more heartfelt. There's more stuff to digest because you actually have that time with that bit of the universe. So that's the way I could put it with the MCU.
Right. Let me Guardians. Very quickly, just before we go ahead. You were gonna say?
Oh no, I'm done. What are you gonna say? You talk. Who talks first? You talk first. I talk first.
I don't know. You were gonna say something about Ragnarok or something. I don't remember.
Oh, Ragnarok. Yeah, the development with it's so interesting how much of a soft reboot Thor Ragnarok is.
Yeah.
It really is like the characters are so well put together in Ragnarok that it kind of feels like the other two don't exist. And it's always been widely known that those movies are the weakest points of the MCU.
Why is that? But what do you think that is? Like, what's lacking in them? Because I agree, but like, what do you think is lacking?
Because Thor is supposed to be bombastic.
Hmm.
And it was I keep on going.
They
back
toned
to
him down.
I want to go back to a channel that I love on YouTube called
Channel Awesome.
No, yuck! That is disgusting. Do not discuss that filth.
Yeah, we have tapes.
Anyway, the thing that there's this channel called Film Joy, and there's a film series there called Movies with Mikey, and he did a piece on Thor Ragnarok, which he was so on point. The Thor: The Dark World and Thor, the first Thor, were trying so hard to be Shakespearean and trying to keep with Norse mythology that they forgot about the comic book aspect of it, which Thor Ragnarok really delved into the comic book aspect of it, with keeping a little slight sprinkles of the Norse mythology in there somewhere, but really having fun with it. The Thor movies never really had fun, you know. It was just it felt tad bit manufactured. And
I think there was some fun, but not nearly on the level that it needed to be.
With Kenneth Branagh's movie, the first Thor, I had a bit of fun with that one. But Thor: The Dark World,
hold up. Look. We need to have an honest conversation, Mr. Lira, because like a lot of these Marvel movies, we saw that one together, The Dark World, and we had fun. We had a lot of fun to the point where we walked out, and I think the first thing you said was, "Wow, that was way better than Iron Man 3." Those were your words, Mr. Lira.
People grow, people change.
Listen, I gotta be honest. I think we've all have said, for the most part, that movie is very much a placeholder. That it kind of goes nowhere in a lot of ways. But what I will defend as what I think was really entertaining was the escape from Asgard sequence with Thor and with Loki. I think that for me, I think it's worth watching that just to watch that. That was for me a lot.
The only good sequence of the movie.
Okay. Okay, that works too. That works too, but I thought that in itself was worth watching it. I was thoroughly entertained, you know?
Yeah, because it's Loki.
Yes.
It's Loki. That's what we get back to. It's all fucking Loki. Fucking Loki. That's what it really goes back to. It's Loki, you know, and he's kind of the glue that put the Avengers together and all the events.
Yeah, and then when you go back to especially the first Thor, you know, I think a lot of people regard the first Thor as better than the Dark World, and it is. But I think one of the things that I noticed rewatching it was just how, I don't know, I felt like there wasn't much interesting things happening with Thor himself that I hadn't already seen before. And I knew that beforehand, but maybe I think what the achievement of that film was making Asgard work, the concept of the 9 realms and the outer universe, and making that feel real, that other things are kind of neglected. Like Thor kind of felt not inconsequential, but the storyline didn't feel that different or new, you know?
Well, yeah, it was a cookie cutter fish out of water story, and that's what we got with the first Thor. With the Thor 2, it was kind of going back to the concept, but like not really. I think Thor: The Dark World had a lot of, like, it wanted to. what Taika Waititi did with Ragnarok really is what the previous Thor movies were trying to be. Because you had Kat Dennings, yay, you had that aspect of the movies, and they were trying hard to be fun, but they tied themselves up and kind of had their hands tied with the whole Norse mythology kind of thing and trying to make it that serious mythological piece of the Marvel universe. And they forgot that Thor is a goofy character, and making him more fun and energetic, and Ragnarok really made it more cohesive.
I think they were trying to do some humorous things with Thor in the Dark World. Like, there was this one thing in the end where he's on the subway trying to get to Greenwich. That was funny, but again, I was just scratching the surface. But in a lot of ways, Thor, and the thing is, Thor has always been kind of the weak point. Even my own brother, who's a fan of these movies, huge fan, just like Thor is like the least interesting part, and like he only ever liked watching Thor with the Avengers, because I mean there he was better.
Until Waititi got in charge of the whole ordeal, and
yeah, and honestly, that changed everything. I think in a lot of ways, you know the what was it called? When did the new Ghostbusters come out?
2016.
Yeah, what was like one of the few good things about that?
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, and like that was funny, and that worked. And then you realize this guy has great comedic timing.
He's got pristine comedic timing,
and it's hard to do that. It's not easy.
I love the sequence. Like, right off the gate, you got a lot of comedic events with Thor. I love the part where he's dangling from the chain, and he was talking to that giant. I don't know what his name is. The giant beast. The giant.
I don't know. I don't care.
I'm gonna call him Satan.
Yeah.
He was talking with Satan. And he was like, just like, let me tell you what, hold on a second. And he was just like continuously spinning on the chain. And it was so gold. Like, he would stop whatever he was talking about once the chain would go around. It's boring me explaining to you, but watch it in the movie, in the context of the movie. And it's a great little piece of what Thor is supposed to be. He's supposed to be dim-witted. He's supposed to be this, like he's nice. He's a nice guy, and that's what Thor is supposed to be. Yeah, he's mighty, but he has fun with it. You know, he's goofy and quirky, and that's what Thor is supposed to be. And that's the moment where we're like, okay, they really get Thor as a character. You know,
right? And in a lot of ways, when it was first announced, Peter and I were expecting something, when they said Ragnarok, something like really dramatic. But now looking at it, man, that would have been such a wrong way to go. Because it wasn't working already. It wasn't working bad, but it wasn't working well enough.
And
Taika reinvented that character. It
and
really
notice
did.
Waititi completely revolutionized the character, but it was so... notice how like the font changed, because Thor Ragnarok before, it was all the logo was all doom and gloom, and it looked like, oh, it's the end of the world, it's the apocalypse thing, which it was, but it was dealt in a comedic effect. But now the Thor Ragnarok logo is all 80s disco, freaking Saturday Night Fever freaking logo, and that really set the bar of what this is gonna be. It's gonna be something like very
well. Also, I mean, the very hiring of Taika. I mean, he does comedies. He doesn't do dramas.
Yeah. One of the best comedies ever made, What We Do in the Shadows. You take that guy, and then you say, hey, here's $200 million. Make me a Thor movie. What did you expect? It really shaped out to be probably one of the best MCU movies.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers.
No, yeah, I'm not. There's no spoiling that. I think it's one of the best ones.
Yeah,
because I said it the weekend it came out. It was one of the best ones.
And I've seen this movie at least since the rewatch 9 times.
Wow.
9 times already. And it gets better every time I watch it. I find little nuggets. Hulk, my God, you made Hulk an actual character. It was just gorgeous. This movie is beautiful. I absolutely love it.
All right, let's see if we can get this whole thing wrapped up because we were talking about the villains and then the cat. Okay, very quickly.
We spent a good 10 minutes on Thor.
Yeah. I like Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane.
Yes.
I don't care for Mickey Rourke. Well, I mean, there was some funny stuff.
I want my bird.
Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer is hilarious.
Are you talking? I don't know if you know this, but I don't speak Russian.
You know what's also hilarious, I'm sorry, is Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery. That was hysterical. I mean, it really is. But, you know. Neil Blonsky was bad.
I would be more forgiving of Trevor if because the thing is that I was really amping up because Ben Kingsley, my God, was the perfect choice to play the Mandarin.
Yeah. And you saw that for half of the movie.
And I saw what could have been one of the greatest MCU villains of all time.
America.
And then
Ready
I'm
for
an actor.
Another lesson. No, you really go from ready for another lesson to my name's Trevor. You really
I'm an actor. Took a fucking shit all over that. And then I'm like, okay, I'm
But
done
I
with
mean,
this
I agree that there was a missed opportunity there, but at the same time, I still think it's hilarious.
I still can't
switch.
go over. I still have a bitter grudge on Iron Man 3, because going in and reading the comics, I fell in love with the dynamic between the Mandarin and Iron Man. It's Iron Man's Joker, you know. It's Iron Man's Green Goblin.
It was a joke, I'll say that.
It was a fucking joke, and it took a big old shit on what the Mandarin is. Apparently, in All Hail the King, in the Marvel one shot, apparently the real Mandarin exists. Good luck when we're gonna get that, because it looks like Iron Man 4 is not gonna happen.
It already happened, though.
Yeah, it's Spider-Man Homecoming.
No. Well, that's not what I was referring to anyway, but yeah, that's not gonna happen, huh?
So we're not gonna get Mandarin.
Mm.
All the focus now is on Thanos, and who knows where the world is gonna be at in 2 years, because a certain company is merging with another company, and there's definitely going to be some changes with that, and the MCU is going to shift focus into those movies.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Okay, what did you make? What did you make of Phase 3 villains?
I have some Michael Keaton, Kurt Russell, freaking Kate Blanchett being the most hammy of all of them. I am the goddess of death. So, Brandy, you're a fine girl. What a good wife you will be. I know these lines so well. These villains are so fucking memorable. They resonate to me, and I'm like, this is what kind of villains we should have been getting from Phase 2. And Michael Keaton, there's one moment where literal chills down my spine with the MCU, and that's when Michael Keaton is having the talk down with Peter Parker in the car. Like, once he finds out who Peter Parker is. And he's like, good old Spider-Man was there to save you. And just, like, the lighting effects and the way that he, like, had a gun. Of course, it's Michael Keaton, so of course it's going to be a great performance. But the way that Vulture has to be in my top 5 favorite MCU villains of all time. Just from the villains in Phase 3. A lot of people, amongst, well, definitely Peter, his thoughts on Killmonger was like he's a bit overrated.
Well, his thoughts on that whole movie is just, not the best.
I could see it, but it's not like he was not interesting. He was a very interesting character. And he was developed way better than the likes of like Ronan or Malekith, or any other villain in the MC. Hell, Killmonger's scenes were way better than what Hugo Weaving brought to fucking Red Skull, and Red Skull is one of the most iconic villains of Marvel comic book history.
How did I forget to talk about the Red Skull? Oh my god. Okay, I kind of agree, but I kind of disagree. I see what you're saying, though. But I love Red Skull. I love Hugo Weaving as Red Skull. I'm sorry. I thought it was a great casting. I thought that villain was so much fun, and the whole Hydra aspect, and Toby Jones as Arnim Zola.
But
I thought that was a lot of fun.
He came and went so fucking fast.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
He was pretty much in the movie for like 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
15, 16 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it. It's called Captain America, not Red Skull. But geez, come on. You're a comic book movie.
My hope is this. My hope is inevitably down the line, like what your hope is, eventually maybe they can use the Mandarin because they went out of their way to establish that the Mandarin exists and is out there.
Like the real Mandarin.
I hope they'll use that the same way that they'll say Red Skull is out there somewhere because he was transported through space and time, not because it is the space and time stone.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't think he died then and there.
Okay. So I have a question. Do you think Ezra Bridger is going to go and get him and pull him out from when he was fighting Captain America and bring him back, and that's how they're going to... Do you think that's how it's going to go?
No. I think what's going to happen is the Chronocoms are going to go and time snatch the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they're going to zap them in thousands of years into the future where the Red Skull is, just to get them off Earth for season 6.
Yeah.
That's what will happen.
Where's the doctor when you need him?
Which doctor? Because Fitz's alter ego is called the Doctor. Fritz from the Framework. Which is a pretty morbid interpretation of the Doctor, because that's not what the Doctor... our Doctor, anyway. Doctor Who Doctor.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing. Also, I like Killmonger, though. I really do. But...
I do, too.
But I think what kind of hinders him is Claw is so much better.
Claw! I mean, you can't help it. You're going against Andy Serkis.
Yes.
One of the greatest, I'm going to say it, one of the greatest actors to spawn out of Hollywood within the last 20 years.
Yes.
Andy Serkis, like the way that he's like, I'll send you links to my mixtape. Just stuff like that is incredible. The way that he performs, he has like way more charisma then
he's just balls to wall crazy, and he knows it, and he owns it.
He does own it. Which that's the only part in Black Panther that really pisses me off, is that they killed Claw. Why?
Claw could have been like a major villain in the future of this, at least the Black Panther series.
Yeah, I mean, unless, okay, here's what's gonna happen. Okay, there's gonna be a movie where Ezra Bridger is gonna go. Okay.
I just hope, like I said in the past, when they go into Avengers 4 and they mess with space and time, I just hope something happens and Claw ends up living again in the end, because that would be amazing.
I hate it when time is used as like a plot crutch.
But in this case,
I would be all for that, because we got any circus bag, motherfuckers. I would all be for that if that were the case. What else?
Also, I don't want to forget about Helmut Zemo, because again, in a way, and look, here's the thing, kind of like the
he won.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He won.
Kind of like in how Winter Soldier in the Winter Soldier was inadvertently a villain. In this case, you have somebody who is not after world domination. He's not after anything that's like, in that sense, but he's a byproduct of what
the Avengers have done to the world.
And what is core to Civil War and why all of this is happening. And so what he wants to do... By the way, it's
the worst MCU movie in the world.
Yeah, it really is. He really destroys the Avengers. And I think in a lot of ways, for a lot of the film, I think a lot of people were like, well, how is he going to do this? How is he going to pit them against each other? And a lot of people think or thought the climax of it would have been the airport hangar bay sequence. So that would have been like, that was the actual Civil War battle. No, that wasn't. And how he played out that reveal and
the Winter Soldier killed Tony Stark's parents.
That was a fucking moment. And
okay.
Go ahead.
I got emotional seeing Tony emotional because he has such a hardened shell that, that I don't give a shit attitude, and seeing him like, oh my god, you're the reason why I never made amends with my dad. You're the reason why like he's not with my mom, and the reaction that he had to like seeing his mom get bludgeoned by the Winter Soldier, absolute tears, absolute horror, and you see
the horror on Steve's face.
Yeah,
and you see him like, oh shit, this is it.
I can't. Well, I'm screwed.
But you also see the shame and guilt on his face for not telling him sooner, because Steve knew that since the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
But what unleashed that? For me anyway, emotionally, that three-way battle between Cap, Iron Man, and Winter Soldier was better for me than the airport hangar bay, because the airport hangar bay is fun, like walls to wall fun stuff happening.
Oh, absolutely.
But when Cap and Iron Man are going at it, it's like it feels wrong and yet right at the same time.
To me, it really sunk in when he told the Winter Soldier, "You killed my mom," and then started wailing, and like he kind of went Terminator on Bucky.
Yeah.
And now you know not to fuck with either of these people. Bucky was trying his damnedest, but if it wasn't for Steve coming in at the 11th hour, Bucky would have been dead.
I mean, we talked about, how in a lot of ways Ragnarok reinvented Thor. But what I said in my initial review is Ragnarok did with Thor what Winter Soldier did with Captain America.
Yeah.
Do you hear about it? Yeah. Because, Captain America was nice and likable before Winter Soldier. And again, another movie that you and I went to go see together for the first time. But Winter Soldier in particular, really, I felt, turned that character around. And I know we've gone off about how impressed you and I were with that film. Because it was a fucking film. And I think 10 minutes into it, it was so much better than the last two combined. No offense to Ragnarok. I mean, not Ragnarok, but Dark World and Iron Man 3. But 10 minutes into it, and they're like, this movie was on another level. The Russos. What the Russos did with Winter Soldier and Civil War and what they will do with 3 and 4. The action, the character. I think they've brought a real filmmaking aspect to this. The drama. I mean, the talent that these guys have to direct these movies have been, I think, on another level. But
do they write the scripts too?
No. It was Christopher and Steve. Okay. No, they do not write the scripts. I'm gonna look them up right now because so many times this is again another Red Spotlight trait. We're gonna Google in the middle of the show.
This is a standard podcast trait for any movie-related podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to look this up because it needs to be said because it's been the same screenwriters for a lot of these Marvel movies. And we always forget their names, and it's not fair because they're very talented. The screenwriters, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, they've written the scripts for all 3 Captain America films, and I believe Infinity War and Avengers 4. Amazing stuff. But what I was going to say with the Winter Soldier is, what I think was really amazing about it is that in a recent interview, Joe and Anthony Russo admitted that they didn't care for the character of Captain America before this. In fact, they found him to be very flat and uninteresting. And so, imagine that, taking these guys that don't care for this character, and them finding a way to reinvent this character and setting forth an arc that is so much more interesting. With him being in the Winter Soldier, him being a man out of time, disaffected with his place and with authority, and to think that Captain America by Civil War is against regulation and against oversight. And to think that Tony Stark, of all people, is the one that sets it in motion, when you go all the way back to the beginning, when he pretty much just tells Capitol Hill to kiss his ass.
Yeah.
It's evolution.
Which, by the way, golden scene.
Yes.
Especially because the focal center is Gary Shandling. Fuck you, Tony Stark. Fuck you, buddy. Great moment in the MCU.
But that's what makes these movies, I feel, so believable, is that these characters evolve. They change from film to film to film, and it works. And they know it. And it works so particularly well. But what I was reading recently is, what gets me really excited and nervous is that Winter Soldier was the first part of a 4-movie act that the Russo brothers are going to carry out, with Cap 2, Cap 3, Avengers 1, 3, and 4. I think we're gonna see Steve's story come to a close, I feel, at the end of Avengers 4. I think that's pretty obvious. But as sad as that is, I honestly couldn't be more proud of what they've done with that character. I think I'm wearing a Captain America shirt right now. I didn't even realize it. But
wow.
But yeah. It's gonna be interesting and emotional, but honestly, I just feel so excited and at ease that the Russos have Avengers 3 and 4 at their helm because of what they've been proven to be able to do. Civil War was not easy, balancing all of those characters and still having like 2 viewpoints.
And not only that, we already got the gist that they could handle all of these an ensemble piece, if
right,
you will,
right.
Well, and that's what we got with Civil War. We got a little glimpse of their Avengers chops, so to speak. And now you're gonna tap into the Avengers realm of it all, which is no easy task in itself. It freaking almost destroyed Joss Whedon. So taking on these Avengers films is no easy task, and that. Can we just like stop the podcast and like fast forward through time and watch the movie already, because I'm so fucking hyped. I've never been like, the last time I was this hyped for a movie was in January of 2015 when I first saw the trailer for The Force Awakens. I've not been this hyped since, and let me tell you something. The anticipation of this movie is killing me.
It really is killing you.
I've been like, I've watched the MCU twice within the past month, and I've been pouring myself over like a couple of things. Number one, the fact that James Gunn, I mean, it's uncredited, but James Gunn wrote all of the Guardian scenes. That, I'm like, it's going to be my Guardians. It's going to be my Guardians. And I'm getting teary-eyed just to explaining this to you. The fact that all of these pieces are going to come to play, something that's been in the works since 2008 when Samuel L. Jackson came out and said that you're part of a bigger universe, you just don't know it yet. Right when he said that, I was like, how big could it possibly be? And I was like, okay, I took that with a grain of salt. Now, that really was the key to this whole different room, to this whole different I guess mansion, I guess you could say. It's just so incredibly incredulous. It's just such a miracle of a thing. And all of these other studios, I mean, you have like shit like the Dark Universe, with the exception of Wonder Woman, the DCEU, and all these other universes that are trying to expand, become what the
and
Marvel
are quite
is
frankly
doing.
collapsing.
Nobody really, Marvel caught lightning with the bottle, and I have to credit Kevin Feige with this, because he really, oh my god, I saw him when he was working on Iron Man. He had hair. He's losing his hair. And it's quite frankly showing the effort and stress that he's been putting onto this whole thing. And it was no easy task. It's definitely daunting trying to put all these pieces together. And that really put it into perspective of what kind of work it puts to bring all these elements into one room, essentially. And what Infinity War is doing is so incredible. I can't. There's like no other adjective to describe what this movie is gonna be. Alexis, you think that you could kiss this universe's ass? A lot of things, a lot of good storytelling. Like, I can't even fathom how much I could pour over Rocket and Yondu scene when they were talking in Guardians Volume 2 about how they're alike on when they were talking on the ship before they made the 20,000 jumps. I can't explain to you how much it brings a tear to my eye when Captain America and Spider-Man are talking, in Civil War, and then he said, "Where you from, kid?" "I'm from Queens." And then Cap remarks, he's
Brooklyn.
like, "Brooklyn." He's not writing fucking fictional characters. These fucking people are real. A moment that I could. That's the thing. It feels real, and it feels grounded, and it feels like something well established. I am thoroughly excited for seeing the land of Wakanda again, and seeing it used as a centerpiece for Infinity War. I'm excited for seeing all of the shit happen. I'm excited for what's to come. This is a huge deal in terms of what movies could do. You know,
just to say, like, Infinity War is going to have Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, Vision, Black Panther, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, the Guardians of the Galaxy, a lot of other characters like Okoye and Wong and Shuri and Pepper Potts and Happy Hogan,
Valkyrie,
Thanos, obviously, Loki. It just
and
goes and
introducing
goes.
5 new characters.
I don't know, maybe more than 5. I'm not even sure how many it's going to be. There are, but
For sure 5 with the Dark Brothers.
I feel like maybe even Avengers 4 might have even more people.
With there's a freaking Josh Brolin spoiled a little something on Infinity War that I saw, and he was talking about the people that he got the chance to work with on this movie, and he mentioned Brie Larson.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so Captain Marvel is going to be in Infinity War. See, even future characters in the MCU lineup, they're still adding on to the dossier.
And Sebastian Stan was quoted recently about this big scene where everyone was there, and he was referring to Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer. If they're in that scene, does that mean everybody's in that scene? Could you just imagine? Look how exciting that feels.
Oh my god, I'm getting teary-eyed thinking of what if there's a scene with Quill and he sees Yondu. Oh my god, I'm dying. Shut this shut. Okay, guys, from now on, RSE is down for the count until the fucking 27th. Then I'll be able to cooperate, because I can't. I'm dying. This is truly. How wonderful of a time we live. How wonderful of a time we live where we're getting all of this shit. We're spoiled. We're fucking spoiled brats at this point. I just love it. I love it. What are you most excited for in Infinity War?
I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to see the movie, and I'm just nervous to see what's going to happen. Because you get the sense people are going to die.
Yeah, people are dying for sure. A lot of the OG crew is on the table.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. It's honestly, it's just amazing.
Oh, for those who are again, me saying fuck you to complainers, get a fucking grip. Hawkeye and Ant-Man are going to be in the movie. Big whoop. Stop complaining. I mean, every trailer has just been the same scenes again and again. There's so much they haven't even shown in this movie. Yeah, we're just getting, like, at least 8% of the movie.
Yeah. An argument can be made for 12%.
Yeah. But...
Which, if you know that reference, I'm referring to the Avengers, when Iron Man was like giving credit to Pepper Potts for having 12% of the plan, you know, and then later on when
she
he
wants
says
her
to
name
her,
on the lease.
when he was saying to her, I thought we were having a moment, and she's like, I was having 12% of a moment. And then also that 12% also goes into the first Guardians when they're in the room and they're wanting to know what Peter Quill's plan is to take on Ronan, and he's like, I have 12% of a plan.
So 12 is a big thing. Big number.
Yeah, here we go.
MCU.
Yeah, 12 is a big number.
I want to gush. I want to have. You mentioned Guardians. I want to have a.
Yes.
I want to have a Guardians appreciation moment right here.
Mm-hmm.
What moment in the first movie did you fall in love with the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh, when it opened. No, from the beginning, when it has the song "I'm Not in Love" starts playing. I don't know. It just felt like something new, and then when it goes to the title sequence and Star-Lord is dancing to "Come and Get Your Love," and I'm like, what are we in for? This is already great. I'm loving this. I was on board from the beginning.
I was pleasantly surprised to see Michael Rooker in the movie, because I've had no other than the Scooby-Doo movies, I've had no previous knowledge of James Gunn and what he does.
Right.
So I had no idea that Rooker is a frequent in his movies. So I was like, oh my god, this is pretty stellar. The soundtrack, my god. Okay, let's settle it right now. Which Guardians movie has the better mixtape?
I prefer the second.
I love the second. I prefer the second one as well. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I mean, the first one had more namesake songs.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like the quality of the songs, I think the second one is better. I mean, come on, it opens up with Mr. Blue Sky, and that whole title sequence.
Technically, it opens up with Brandy,
but that was like more like a. It's kind of like the precursor to that. We never really get like, I don't know, but still, what a way to open the movie. I mean, the first one opened with like Star-Lord, and he's doing the whole "Come and Get Your Love" bit by Redbone, and then the next one, Electric Light Orchestra, and what an epic way to start off the movie. And if you listen to the whole track, it feels very Guardians-esque.
Yeah.
And it's just really good, and the characters are so well developed. One could argue the best developed out of all of the movies. One could argue. Do you disagree with that notion?
The best developed what?
Characters in the MCU?
I mean, I see what you're saying, but we still have Captain America and Iron Man. And I feel they've been developed throughout more movies. So, I don't know. Not necessarily, but I love the characters now.
Well, not just Guardians, but the MCU is really well cast.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I can't pick one out of the bunch that I could say is poorly casted. I can't. Tom Hiddleston is great as Loki.
You know what we haven't talked about though? Of this big, massive universe, something I don't think any of us saw coming. Spider-Man.
Yes. Hold on. Okay, so okay.
Somebody got triggered.
Guys, okay. So I remember. I was on campus at my local college, and I was working on I think I was working on an essay at the time, and I remember I was in one of the study halls, and you sent me the link that Sony and Marvel made an arrangement of sorts.
Oh, really?
And then I was like, fucking shit. No. Boom. Variety reports Spider-Man to be in the MCU, starting off with Captain America's Civil War. Get wrecked, noob. I was completely... I was ecstatic because I've been wanting, because of all of the heroes to be in the MCU, Spider-Man made the most sense. And he was completely, he's a key part of what Marvel has become, you know? And I just the fact that Spider-Man is in the MCU now and is now he's able to be used in the Marvel movies, that just brings a smile to my face.
But aside from just being used, they were able to make more Spider-Man movies that exist in the MCU.
Yes, and that's incredible. And I think the way that Spider-Man: Homecoming is the third best Spider-Man movie ever made.
Yeah.
My ranking is Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, and then Homecoming. Top 3 Spider-Man movies, hands down. After that, I just like really, and then the way that Tom Holland, they cast a fucking kid to play Spider-Man, and he played Spider-Man so well. The mannerisms is very Ditko, early 60s Spider-Man. He sounds like a pipsqueak, and that's how he's supposed to sound. He's not supposed to sound like, you know, something like this, like how Andrew Garfield portrayed him, or you could tell that somebody in his 30s is playing him in the Raimi movies, but you could tell that a little pipsqueak, little 19-year-old is playing Spider-Man, and that is amazing on itself. What was your first initial reception of going in? And because I know that you didn't have any connection with Spider-Man previously, but like, what moment were you like, okay, I'm in for the Spider-Man things? You even went back to watch the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
Well, what happened was, I guess what I could say is my first real experience with the character was watching Civil War. And I remember getting very hyped up for the movie because in the trailers, they had little bits and pieces of him. And what I was hearing was just like, wow, that looks incredible. And I think for me, if you're going to say when I was sold on the idea of Spider-Man, especially in the cinematic universe, it was his very first scene with Tony Stark. Great scene. Great introduction. It gets right to the heart of who that character is and why he belongs in this universe. That's how you were supposed to introduce him. I thought that was outstanding. And of course, seeing him in action and him in battle was just a completely different experience altogether, and how much fun he was.
You know that old movie, The Empire Strikes Back?
You have a metal arm? That's awesome, dude.
I love Falcon's reaction to him, and he was like, I don't know if you've ever been in a fight, but there's usually not this much talking. So well, and then the way that he explained what Spider-Man's character is, like what his moral ground is, when they were talking when Tony Stark and Peter Parker were talking at his place, he's like, when you got the abilities that I do, and the bad stuff happens, that's all on you.
Yeah.
Great moment. Great.
By the way, I just in full disclosure, I saw Civil War on Tuesday night, and I was gonna see Doctor Strange last night, but I was like, I want to see Civil War again, and I saw Civil War again.
So you watched it twice?
Yep, twice in a row.
Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah. But I know to give more information about that. So yeah, when Spider-Man
when it said Queens on the screen.
Yeah.
When we first watched Civil War.
Yeah.
Gold. That was solid gold.
Because everybody knew at that point.
Yeah, we're like, Spider-Man's coming. So anyway, go on to what we were going to say.
Before Spider-Man Homecoming, I made it a point to see the old Spider-Man films, the Sam Raimi trilogy. And I expected to like them. I didn't expect to fall in love with them. I thought they were amazing movies and made beautifully. And I think what makes those movies, make them feel resonant is the emotion packed into them is so palpable that's unlike anything that I see in most movies today. And I think that's a trademark of the 2000s era and a big reason why those movies worked back then. Is I guess they can be considered cheesy. That's not a bad thing for me. It's certainly not a thing that's, I think, present throughout. But I think in every film, there is a style that will make it work and will carry it throughout. And when you see what you see with the Guardians films is a tone that makes those characters work and makes those stories work. And I think that same happened with the Spider-Man films. Is I took them seriously, but yeah, they had fun. But I think a lot of people also forget the Star Wars films. The original films were pretty cheesy.
Yeah.
If you're going to use that word. Or hokey.
Freaking, his name is Spider-Man. Take that name with a grain of salt.
Take it seriously.
I don't know. And then the level of kind of cheese with a little bit of seriousness in Homecoming really made it in my opinion, one of the greats in the MCU lineup. And I think that everything is really good. What else? Do you want to get into TV?
I mean, it's not something to go into very quick. I mean, not to delve into too much because we've had so many reviews about television, especially the Marvel TV shows. I think as of lately, it's kind of been something that I've chose not to think about too much because of how depressing it's gotten. I think when it was first beginning, Marvel Netflix in particular was like this big thing because you had great seasons with Daredevil and Jessica Jones, with 2 great seasons with Daredevil, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. And I was just like, yes, this is so good. I love it. But then when we get into Iron Fist and Defenders and Punisher and Jessica Jones, they're not bad. Well, some of them are bad, but you see a downgrade in quality that's kind of depressing. And then recently you had Runaways, which I heard was good. I liked it. I didn't finish for whatever reason. Inhumans, which for whatever reason I did finish, was just trash. Inhumans was just trash. TV is getting kind of depressing lately, but for me,
there's always one constant with you.
Yes, there's always one constant.
I wonder what it is.
Will keep burning throughout all of space and time, and its last ember will fade once the universe is destroyed. Of course, I'm talking about the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I know it's kind of...
Oh, I thought you were talking about Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, I feel like it's... I don't mean for my love of the show to become a punchline, because I really am serious, is that in a lot of ways, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I watched it when it first began because it was an extension of this universe that I wanted more and more content of. But I know for a fact that I stayed for the characters. I stayed for Phil Coulson and for Daisy Johnson and for Melinda May and Fitzsimmons and everyone else. Those characters have become an extension of my very own family. And in a lot of ways, I'm so connected, so much more connected with them than I am with a lot of the MCU stuff, because I mean, they've been in my life for 5 years now. They've been in my life and I'm one of the apparently few people. I know Kyle and Peter watch the series, but I'm one of the few people that actually tunes in week in and week out. And I have been doing that for 5 years. You talk about commitment, that takes a lot of time to watch the show every single week.
Program.
You want to call it a slave, go ahead. I'm just devoted to them because I love them. And I just love their characters. And I think what they do well is they tell their own great stories, which is an extension and a mirror of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But they just find a way to continuously top themselves. And they're just a great fun to watch. And I think when it's all said and done, I feel you have one of the great modern day sci-fi shows, really, because we have so much stuff they were able to pull off within humans and LMDs, and you have these dark dimension demons like Ghost Rider, space time travel, aliens,
that
ancient
LMD arc fucked me up. Not gonna lie. It really did.
Well, yeah, because virtual reality with the framework. There's so much stuff that they've done here,
and I came out liking that version of Grant Ward,
which I think for you feels so
dirty.
Wrong on so many levels.
I feel like I need a shower after saying that. I get what you mean.
Yeah,
I get wholeheartedly what you mean. I am the same way with the little space wizard and his little time machine box.
A space wizard? You know,
Yeah.
Okay.
The Doctor. I'm talking about Doctor Who.
I know who you're talking about, but I think that description only invites challenge from Peter, who continuously attempts to destroy the very fabric of the show.
You mean the fabric of time and space? They call it the TARDIS. Time and relative dimension in space.
Yeah, because TARDISes are actually grown, they're not made.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating? I love it. I love Doctor Who, guys. Sue me, I love Doctor Who. I get Alexis Soto. I get what you mean when you talk about this way with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm not as close as I am with it that I am with other programs.
Well, clearly, because you haven't been watching, so.
It's still a good program. I know for you it's great. To me, it's good. But that's the beauty of a conversation with intellectual moviegoers and
Wrong.
fans of the film medium.
I have the best missiles.
I have the best missiles. I always
I have the best holes. That's okay. I know you're missing out because David loves it and it's great. So, fuck you.
Now is an appropriate time to end the podcast. I'm your host.
Of course, because now we come to the time where I say you can watch Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. every single Friday on ABC, 9 p.m. You see? You even got it down. And you still don't watch. Now, can we end this so I can go watch Roseanne? It's getting real good.
I'm your host, Kyle Lira. This has been Red Spotlight Entertainment.
Wait, why are you laughing? What are you... Did I miss something? Why are you laughing?
It's just a funny statement. Can we end this so I can watch Roseanne? Perfect. Perfect way to end it. I'm your host, Kyle Lira. This has been Red Spotlight Entertainment. Bye.